Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. So as you are all aware of, we had started with the digestive system. So in today's lecture we shall cover the next part, that is the small intestine. So as you are all aware of, the digestive system is divided into two types of organs. So one which forms a tube-like structure called as GI tract, which extends from the mouth till the anus, and the accessory digestive organs are also helping in the digestion, maybe by crushing the food or helping in movement of the food or secreting certain secretions like pancreatic juice or the bile, which is secreted by the liver, stored by the gallbladder, stored and concentrated by the gallbladder and released as and when it is required. Okay, so we have covered with the mouth, pharynx, esophagus and stomach in the earlier lecture. So the next part of the digestive system, that the food moves from the stomach, more appropriately you can call it as a chyme. It moves from the stomach to the small intestine. Okay, so we have seen what exactly happens in the stomach, what are the different types of cells and what type of secretions, mainly acid is secreted over there, and certain digestive enzymes also start digesting the food. Okay, but the majority of the digestion and absorption of the food, it takes place in this particular region, that is the small intestine. Okay, so we shall start with the introduction first before going into the actual anatomy, histology and the physiology of the small intestine. Okay, so this particular structure, small intestine, it is present in the form of a long tube. It's a long tube like structure wherein most of the digestion and absorption of the nutrients will take place. Okay, since these are the two main functions which are carried out by this particular part, small intestine, most of the digestion and absorption of the food, of course some degree of digestion and absorption, it will take place in the stomach also, but majority of it will take place in the small intestine. For that matter, there are a lot of structural adaptations which have taken place in the small intestine to suit these particular functions of the small intestine. Okay, so the length of the small intestine itself is providing a very large surface area. Okay, so the small intestine, it forms the longest part of the GI tract. Okay, so the length itself is such large that it provides a very large surface area, first of all, for the digestion as well as the absorption. And further, this surface area is increased by three specialized structural features, that is circular folds, villi and microvilli. We will come to these structural features in detail a little later when we cover the histology part. Okay, now this particular small intestine, it begins at the pyloric sphincter of the stomach. This is the starting part of the small intestine. It is at the pyloric end, the last part of the stomach. As we have seen, it is pylorus and it is guarded by a sphincter, which is composed of the smooth muscles, right, in the muscularis of that particular part. So it comprises of a pyloric sphincter which will control the movement of the chyme from the stomach into the small intestine. So it is guarded by the pyloric sphincter. So small intestine, it begins at the pyloric sphincter. It coils through the central and the inferior part of the abdominal cavity. Okay, so it's very long. Okay, so it is a highly coiled structure to be accommodated within the abdominal cavity, and eventually it will open into the large intestine, which is the last part of the GI tract. Okay. Now the average length of the small intestine is round about 3 meters in the living person. Okay, in the living person it is 3 meters, but in a cadaver, which is a dead body, the length it increases right up to 6.5 meters. That is, it doubles. Now why it happens is because in the living being, the small intestines, the smooth muscles which are present in the small intestine, they have a tone, right? Smooth muscles, they have a basal tone, as you are all aware of. You all must have studied under the muscles. Okay, muscles, they are never present in a completely relaxed state. They always have a basal tone in them. So because of this, the length of the small intestine in the living person, it is about 3 meters, but in a cadaver it increases right up to 6.5 meters. Okay, because the tone is lost after the death. And the diameter of the small intestine is 2.5 centimeters. That is around about 1 inch in the diameter. Okay, so coming to the anatomy of the small intestine. Okay, now basically it is divided into 3 regions. That is, the first part, the starting part is the duodenum, the middle portion is known as jejunum, and the last part is known as ileum. Now it's very difficult to locate these 3 parts separately over here because they are placed in a highly coiled manner, and it is very, very long, right? 3 meters, you can imagine the length of the small intestine. Okay, so it's very difficult to project the 3 different parts over here exactly. You can see in what coiled fashion it is placed in the abdominal cavity, right? Okay, so this is the first part, that is the duodenum. Okay, so you can see that this is the stomach, so it will begin at the pyloric end of the stomach. So the first portion is the duodenum, which is the shortest region of all the 3, and it is retroperitoneal in nature. Remember what is retroperitoneal? We have covered this part under the peritoneum under introduction, under the overview. Okay, so retroperitoneal means something which lies posterior to the peritoneum, and it is covered by the peritoneum only on the front side. Okay, and the duodenum, it is located backside of the peritoneum, so that it is covered by the peritoneum only from the front. Okay, it is not entirely covered by the peritoneum. That's why it is known as retroperitoneum. That is, it lies backside of the peritoneum. Okay, now the duodenum, it's a C-shaped tube which begins from the pyloric sphincter of the stomach. Okay, so round about 25 centimeter from this pyloric sphincter, okay, that is 10 inch. It is a C-shaped structure, tube-like structure, which is placed just inferior towards the liver. Okay, so liver will be present over here. Okay, so just inferior to that lies a C-shaped first tube-like structure of the small intestine, that is the duodenum, and it's round about 25 centimeter in length. Okay, so further it will merge with the next part, that is the jejunum. Now why it is called as duodenum is because actual meaning of this word is 12. Now why it was named so is because the length of the duodenum, it was as much as the space which is occupied by the width of 12 fingers. So if you placed 12 fingers side by side, okay, so the length which is occupied by the 12 such fingers which are placed side by side, that much length is occupied by the duodenum. That's why it was called as duodenum. So that's the first part. As we have seen that the bile, the pancreatic juice, it is secreted into this duodenum, right, through the hepatopancreatic ampulla, and there is the accessory duct also which opens into the duodenum, right? Okay. Then the next part of the small intestine is the jejunum. So duodenum, it's just 25 centimeter from the beginning of the sphincter. Next part is the jejunum. So it is continued as a jejunum, which is round about 1 meter long, and it extends up to the ileum. It starts at duodenum and it extends up to the ileum, which is the last part of the small intestine. Now the actual meaning of this term jejunum, why it was called as jejunum, is the actual meaning is empty, because it was found as empty at the death. That's why it was called as jejunum. And the last portion into which the jejunum will open is the ileum. So this is the last and the longest region of the small intestine, which occupies the remaining 2 meters. Okay, so actual length of the small intestine is round about 3 meters, right? Out of which just 25 centimeter is the duodenum, the first part. 1 meter is occupied by the jejunum and the remaining 2 meters is occupied by the ileum. Okay, ileum means twisted. Okay, so it's the longest part of the small intestine, and further it will join with the large intestine at a sphincter which is called as ileocecal sphincter or ileocecal valve, it is known as. So it will open into the, it lies somewhere over here. Okay, so this is the starting part of your large intestine. Okay, so it ends at this particular portion, which is guarded by one more sphincter, which is comprising of the smooth muscles, and that is called as ileocecal sphincter. It is sometimes referred to as ileocecal junction also. Okay, now coming to the histology of the small intestine. Okay, so if you can recall the 4 layers of the wall of the gastrointestinal tract, the small intestine is also made up of the same 4 layers. That is the innermost layer, which is mucosa. Next outer layer is the submucosa. Then next to submucosa, the outer layer is muscularis, and the outermost layer is the serosa. Okay, so the same 4 layers are present in the wall of the small intestine also. So let us see what is the composition of each layer. Okay, so it's almost the similar what we have seen in the introduction. So mucosa, it will comprise of the 3 layers, that is epithelium, lamina propria and muscularis mucosae. So innermost layer, which is in contact with the food, which is present towards the lumen of the small intestine, that comprises of a single layer of epithelial cells. So that's called as epithelium. Next to that is the, so this is the epithelial layer. Next to that is the lamina propria, this one. Okay, that's the lamina propria, and the third layer is the muscularis mucosae, this one. Okay, so now let us see what these 3 layers are comprised of. Okay, so coming to the first layer, that is the epithelial layer of the small intestine. So it will comprise of simple columnar epithelium. Remember, the types of epithelial cells will vary depending upon the part of the GI tract, because the functions are different. So accordingly, the different types of epithelial cells will be present at different places. Okay, now in the small intestine, this epithelial layer, it comprises of simple columnar epithelium. Now these simple columnar epithelium, it comprises of many types of cells. There are different types of cells which are present. Okay, so the one type of cell which is present is the absorptive cell. These, so the ones which are located over here, terminal portions. Of course, we'll come to what exactly these structures are. Okay, so let's focus on the mucosa right now. So it comprises of epithelial layer. Now these epithelial cells are of different types. One type of epithelial cell is the absorptive cell. Okay, so now these absorptive cell, what is the role? Digestion and absorption of the nutrients. Okay, so that's the main function of absorptive cells, which are a type of epithelial cells. Then another type of epithelial cells are also present. These are called as goblet cells. These are the ones. Okay, goblet cells, what is the function? They secrete the mucus which helps in the lubrication. Okay, Then apart from this, there are several deep crevices which are present into the lumen of the intestine, and these crevices are lined by the glandular epithelium. Okay, now these crevices, these actually comprise of the intestinal glands. You can see over here, these are the intestinal glands, or these are also called as crypts of Lieberkühn. So what is the function of these intestinal glands? Is to secrete the intestinal juice. Now these intestinal glands, they also contain the absorptive cells and the goblet cells which are present over here. So such type of cells are also present in the intestinal glands also, but apart from these two types of cells are present two more types of cells known as the Paneth cells and the enteroendocrine cells. Okay. So which are present only in the intestinal glands. Okay. Cells which are lining the intestinal glands. Now what are these Paneth cells? Paneth cells, the function is to secrete the lysozyme, which is a bactericidal enzyme, which is capable of phagocytosis also. So it will have a protective function. So it will help in regulating the microbial population in the small intestine. Apart from that, one more type of cells which are present in the intestinal glands are the enteroendocrine cells. These are the ones. Okay, so enteroendocrine cells are also present. These are of three types. S cells, they secrete the hormone secretin. Okay, so as the name implies, enteroendocrine cells means what? These are the cells which are present in the intestines or in your GI tract, which are endocrine in nature. That is, they will secrete certain hormones which are released into the bloodstream. Okay, so these are three types of enteroendocrine cells. The S cells which secrete the hormone secretin, the CCK cells which will produce CCK, that is cholecystokinin, and the K cells which produce the glucose dependent insulinotropic peptide, or GIP it is known as. Okay, so these are the different types of epithelial cells which are present lining the small intestine. Okay, so the innermost layer which comes in contact with the food, it comprises of different types of epithelial cells, the absorptive cells, goblet cells, then the Paneth cells and the enteroendocrine cells. Then the next layer of the mucosa is the lamina propria. This is the one. Okay, so this layer, it comprises of the areolar connective tissue, and it also comprises of the lymphatic tissues, okay, which may be present in the form of mucosa associated lymphoid tissue, they are known as. So these may be present in the two forms. They may be either solitary lymphatic nodules, or these may be in the form of aggregated lymphatic follicles. A group of lymphatic nodules may also be present. These are also called as Peyer's patches. Okay. And the third layer of the mucosa is the muscularis mucosae. So this will comprise of the smooth muscles, right? As you can see that there are two layers of the smooth muscles which are present. So as you can see, the details of the mucosa, that is, it comprises of the several types of epithelial cells which are shown in detail over here. These are the absorptive cells. This is how an absorptive cell will look like. So its main function is to absorb the nutrients. Also the digestive enzymes are also secreted over here. We'll come to that a little later. Then another type of cells which are present in between are known as the goblet cells, which secrete the mucus, and in the intestinal gland, these are the intestinal glands. Okay, so there are specialized type of cells known as the Paneth cells which secrete the lysozyme, which is capable of phagocytosis. Another type of cell which is located are the enteroendocrine cells, which can secrete the secretin. S cells, CCK cells secrete the cholecystokinin, and the K cells which will secrete the GI. Okay, so this, as you can see over here, and this is the lamina propria, okay, which is extending in this villi, and as you can see that the blood vessels and the lymphatic vessels are entering through this lamina propria. And the third layer is the muscularis mucosa. Okay. Then the next layer of the small intestine is the submucosa. This is the one. Okay. So this submucosa, basically it contains the duodenal glands. These are also known as Brenner's glands. Okay, so the main function of these glands is to secrete an alkaline mucus. So this will help in neutralizing the gastric acid which may be present in the chyme. So also sometimes the lymphatic tissues which are present in the lamina propria, this may also be extending into the submucosa also sometimes. Okay. Then the next layer is the muscularis. This is the one. Next outer layer is muscularis, which comprises of the 2 layers of smooth muscles. Now there are 2 layers of smooth muscles, as you can see. The outer layer which is present, it comprises of the thin layer, and the muscles, they are placed longitudinally along the length of the GI tract, whereas the inner layer of the smooth muscles is thicker in nature. There are more number of muscles which are present over here, right? And these are placed circularly. It comprises of circular fibers, that is along the circumference of the GI tract or the lumen will be placed these particular circular muscles. Okay, so this is to do with the muscularis, and the outermost layer is the serosa. So serosa mainly comprises of the visceral peritoneum. So except for the duodenum, as we have seen that it is a retroperitoneal part, right, of the small intestine. Okay, so excepting for the duodenum, most of the part of the small intestine, it is covered entirely by the serosa, which is actually a visceral peritoneum. It will comprise of the areolar connective tissue and the epithelial layer, squamous epithelial layer. Okay, so this is to do with the layers of the GI. Now that's not the end of it. Now, if you can remember in the introduction, we have seen that there are some specialized structural features which are present in the intestine, which increase the surface area for it to adapt for its function, that is the digestion and the absorption. Since most of the digestion and the absorption takes place in the small intestine, so the area which is required is very vast, right? So imagine if it was a small surface area, the entire amount of nutrients from the food, they wouldn't have been absorbed into the blood circulation, right? It would have just gone waste if there was no vast absorptive capacity of the small intestine, right? Okay, so first of all, the length of the small intestine is very much long, as we have seen, it is 3 meters. So first of all, it is providing a very large surface area. But apart from that, if you can remember, we have seen that there are 3 structural features which will further increase the surface area, right? These are circular folds, villi and microvilli. Okay, now coming to the first structural feature, that is circular folds. So these are also known as plicae circularis. Okay, so these are the folds of the mucosa and submucosa. As you can see here, these are clearly visible. Just like we have seen that there are rugae in the stomach. Okay, so just like that, there are circular folds which are present. Now, why these are known as circular folds is because these are located along the circumference of your intestine. So this is the length of the small intestine. So as you can see that these are located circumferentially. That's why these are known as circular folds. Okay, so your mucosa and the submucosa, it is placed in the form of folds, and these are known as circular folds. Okay, now these permanent ridges. Okay, so now these are permanent ridges. Unlike in the stomach, the rugae, what we have seen, these are the structural feature provided for the extension of the stomach, right? So those are not permanent. Rugae are not permanent. As you eat the food, what will happen to those rugae? They will help in extension of the stomach, right? The stomach will extend, or it will distend rather. Okay, so that is not the case over here. These are the permanent ridges which are present, which may be round about 10 mm in length. Okay, if you can see these folds, they may be 10 mm in length. So sometimes they may extend partly, or sometimes entire circumference may be occupied by a single circular fold, or they may even occupy the part of it also. Okay, so now these circular folds, why they are present? To enhance the absorption. They increase the surface area, right? Because the mucosa is placed in the form of folds. Further the surface, imagine if it was straight, surface area would have been less, right? So because of the presence of these folds, further the surface area is increased. So it will help in increasing the absorption by increasing the surface area. So also the chyme, it passes through the small intestine in the spiral manner rather than traveling the straight. Okay, so the food which is coming here, it will not pass directly towards the large intestine. Straight it will not go. How it will move? In the spiral manner. From here it will go here. So it will move circularly, spirally it will move. So imagine a spring, how it is located. So your food will also move in that fashion. It will not move straight, but it will move in a spiral fashion. So what will happen? Due to this movement, it will allow more time for the digestion and the absorption of the nutrients from the chyme which is reaching your small intestine. Not only the surface area is increased, but the movement is also decreased, so that more and more digestion and absorption, more complete digestion and absorption will take place. Okay, so this is to do with the first structural feature. There is one more structural feature which will increase the surface area, and that is known as villi. Villi means tufts of hair. Now what are these villi? These are the finger-like projections of the mucosa. These are the ones. You can see that there are small projections over here. Okay, these are the ones. This is one villus, this is the second one, this is the third one, this is the fourth one, and so on. So can you see the number of villi which are present on this surface? These are the circular folds. And further the mucosa, it is placed in the form of hair-like structure, and that is known as the villi. So these are the finger-like projections of the mucosa. Remember the circular folds, these are the folds of the mucosa as well as submucosa. Whereas the villi, these are the finger-like projections of the mucosa. These are round about 0.5 to 1 mm long. The length of this single villus is 0.5 to 1 mm. Now there are a number of villi which are present, which will further increase the surface area. Can you imagine this number of villi? So there are around about 20 to 40 villi per square millimeter. So can you imagine the vast number of villi which are present along the entire length of your small intestine? And can you imagine the area which is increased because of the presence of these villi? Okay, so the surface area is extremely increased by these villi, so that it will facilitate the absorption and the digestion. And the presence of these villi also will give the velvety appearance to your small intestine. So it will not look smooth unlike other areas of the GI tract, but it will have a velvety appearance because of this minute villi or the finger-like structures which are extending from the mucosa of the small intestine. Okay, now this is the structure. Okay, so this is the structure of a single villus. Okay, villus is a singular form of the villi. Villi are multiple form. Okay, so each villus, this one, it is covered by the epithelium and it has a core of lamina propria. So your lamina propria of your mucosa, it will extend into the villi. Okay, and it is lined by an outer layer of epithelium. Okay, so this lamina propria, as we have seen, it comprises of the areolar connective tissue, right? Connective tissue is present in this lamina propria. Also extending into this lamina propria is a network of blood capillaries, right? There are arterioles and venules which are present, and there is a network of capillaries, as you can see over here. Apart from this, there is also present a lacteal, this one. As you can see, the green portion, that's a lacteal. Actual meaning of this word is milky. Okay, lacteal, it is actually a lymphatic capillary. You must have studied the lymphatic system. Okay, so it's a lymphatic capillary. Now, what is the role of these blood vessels and lymphatic capillary over here? Why they are present in the villi? Why they are extending into the villi? Now, what is happening over here, over this villi? It's increasing the surface area for absorption, right? So, whatever is absorbed, whatever nutrients are absorbed, where they will go? They will get absorbed into these epithelial cells, move into the either the blood vessels or into the lymphatic capillary. So, the nutrients which are digested over here and nutrients which are generated over here from the food which you consume, these will be absorbed by these absorptive cells and they will move into either the bloodstream or into these lacteals. Okay, so that's the function of the villi. They will help in digestion also and they will help in the absorption of the nutrients also. Okay, now apart from this villi, so we have seen circular folds, we have seen the second structural feature, villi. Now, apart from these two, there is one more structural feature which will increase the surface area of the small intestine, and that is known as microvilli. Micro means small. Okay, so these microvilli, these are small projections which are present on the apical membrane of the absorptive cells. Now, what is an apical membrane? As you can see, this is an absorptive cell, right? So, all the other membranes, these are in contact with the neighboring cells or with the lamina propria. But this end of this absorptive cell, this end, it is free, right? So, that is known as the apical membrane or the free membrane. And on this apical membrane are present small projections, minute projections, and these are called as microvilli. So, these are villi, whatever finger-like projections you can see of the mucosa, these are called villi. And further on the absorptive cells which are present on the villi are located further projections known as microvilli. Now, microvilli, the size of this microvillus, a single microvillus is 1 micrometer. It's 1 micrometer in length. Can you imagine the size, the small size? That's why these are known as microvilli. Okay, so these are small cylindrical membrane covered projections of the absorptive cells. So they contain a bundle of 20 to 30 actin filaments in them. Okay, now usually these microvilli are too small to be seen under a light microscope. So if you can observe through a light microscope, these microvilli, they appear like a fuzzy line. Instead of individual projections, you will be able to see them in the form of a fuzzy line. And this is called as a brush border. Now, why it is called as a brush border? imagine a brush, a toothbrush. There are a number of bristles which are present on them, right? Can you see those the bristles individually? Is it possible? It will have a fuzzy appearance, right? Because there are a number of bristles which are present on them. So similarly, these microvilli also, you can't exactly observe them individually, but they will appear as a fuzzy line, and that is called as a brush border, which is extending into the lumen of the small intestine. And the number of microvilli which are present, it's round about 200 million microvilli per square millimeter. Villi, we had seen that there are 20 to 40, round about 40 villi are present per square millimeter. But here these are 200 million microvilli are present per square millimeter. So you can imagine the amount of area which is increased by the presence of these microvilli for the absorption of the nutrients. Okay, so these three features will increase the surface area of the small intestine in a very, very large amount, very large proportion, so that quick absorption of these digested nutrients can be possible. It's made possible because of increase in this surface area, especially the microvilli. Not only that, not only the absorption, the brush border also contain several brush border enzymes also, which have the digestive function. Okay. Now coming to the role of the intestinal juice and the brush border enzyme. Okay. So remember, there are intestinal glands which are present in the mucosa. So these intestinal glands, they produce round about 1 to 2 liters of intestinal juice, which is a clear yellow fluid. Okay, so round about 1 to 2 liters of this intestinal juice is produced per day. Now this intestinal juice, it contains mainly water and the mucus. There are goblet cells, right, which produce the mucus. So this intestinal juice, it has an alkaline pH, that is round about 7.6. So this intestinal juice along with the pancreatic juice, it will provide a liquid medium which help in absorption of the substances which are released after the digestion of the food, okay, from the chyme in the small intestine. Okay. Further, the absorptive cells, they have microvilli, and microvilli synthesize a number of digestive enzymes, and these are called as brush border enzymes, as we have seen. So these brush border enzymes, these are inserted in the plasma membrane of the microvilli. So they will help in the digestion of the food. Of course, the pancreatic juice also release the enzymes which are mainly carrying out the digestive functions, no doubt. But apart from that, these brush bordered enzymes, these also will help in further enzymatic digestion on the surface of the absorptive cells. Okay, so this absorption will take place on the surface of the mucosa rather than in the lumen. Okay, now what are those different types of brush border enzymes? So there are 4 carbohydrate digesting enzymes. These are known as alpha dextrinase, maltase, sucrase and lactase. So you can imagine what they will be digesting. These are carbohydrate digesting enzymes. Okay. Then there are protein digesting enzymes which are called as peptidases. There are aminopeptidase and dipeptidase. And there are also 2 types of nucleotide digesting enzymes, that is nucleosidase and phosphatase. Okay, so these will help in surface digestion of the food. Now apart from that, sometimes the layer of the absorptive cells, it may also slough off due to the wear and tear. Because of the moving food, the absorptive cells may slough off into the lumen. So into the lumen again it will break apart and release the enzymes. This will further help in digesting the nutrients in the chyme. Apart from surface digestion, whatever absorptive cells slough off, they will also release the digestive enzymes, and further it will help in the digestion of the food. Okay, so this is to do with the physiology of the small intestine. So mainly small intestine, what is the function? Digestion of the food, which is carried out by the several enzymes which are secreted into the pancreatic juice and the intestinal juice or in the brush border enzymes, and the absorption of the nutrients which are released or which are digested by providing the great surface area. So further from small intestine, the chyme will be conveyed into the large intestine. Okay, so this to do with the anatomy, histology and physiology of the small intestine. This is the reference. Thank you for watching.